But then, for some reason, I don't know why they asked me, I'm 18 years old, and they asked me to teach a young married couple's Sunday school class. I don't think they could find anybody else. And I thought, here I am single, and you want me to teach married couples? You know, I don't get it. And for the first time, I started reading the Bible myself. But what happened to me was an epiphany. For the first time, when I started reading myself, I found some things that I was hearing the ministers say, quoting the Bible, that I had taken for granted. And I always do this example, so you'll understand where I'm coming from and why you should be questioning. You shouldn't be letting anyone tell you. I don't care how many letters they have after them. If you really want to know the truth, most of the experts don't know what's going on. Most of the quote experts have no idea what's going on. But I don't know if you're familiar with the scripture, but my church is real strict about communion, and that you must take it every Sunday. And they based it on the scripture that said, as oft as you gather, do this in remembrance of me. How many have heard that before? Okay. It doesn't say that. And so you've heard it that way. It was so strictly taught in my church that we were told we were going to hell if we didn't take communion every Sunday. We would even make sure we took communion. If we were going to go somewhere, like for dinner somewhere or out, had to travel, guess what we went first for? We went to communion. Didn't stay for the sermon, we took off, but we always took communion. Now, here's the reason that I had my epiphany. Started reading the Bible on my own, and it said, you know, I always heard him say, as oft as you gather, do this in remembrance of me. Does anybody know what it really says?
Wherever two or three are gathered, I'm present as well. Or something
Well,
like that.
that's not the same scripture, though.
Yeah.
Now, that's true. But there's a specific scripture for what I just said that he had changed just a little bit.
Well, it says, do this in remembrance of me. In remembrance of me.
But it also says some other things there. It doesn't say as oft as you gather. It says as oft as you do this. Big difference. Big difference. And for the first time, my naivety left me. Because what question would come immediately after that? What else? What else have I been taking for granted that was truth? Just because some guy is standing in a pulpit that had a degree, that I let him tell me what was coming, you know, from God. When there's 10,000 factions in the Baptist church alone that don't even agree. It's amazing how many different ways we can look at that book, you know. Now, that's not the major thing. What I wanted you to get is kind of my background. And from that point on, the epiphanies all just started coming. Because here was my prayer to God. I said, okay, that's it. And this is something you need to think about. From this point on, I said, I am willing. I am willing to let go of everything I've ever been taught to know the truth. How many of you think that's worth it? Wouldn't it be worth it to know the real truth than to continue to believe something? Well, a lot of people say yes. But when you throw some truths at them that they've believed for 30 years and find out that's not true, they're not ready to say yes so quickly. Because we want to hold on to something we think is absolute, don't we? What are we looking for peace in life most of the time? Absolutes. You know what we're looking for? Something we can say, we can always count on this being true? Well, I'm sorry. But I'm going to rock your world today. I'm going to shake it up a little bit. But that's why you're here, right? Isn't that why you're here? Don't you want to know more? One of the first questions I'll ask people to come to my seminar is the first thing you need to be able to do: can you shelve or suspend your current belief system long enough to examine another alternative? I'm not saying give it up completely. Let me ask this question. If something's really true, wouldn't it stand any question or examination you gave?
Absolutely.
Yeah. No question about it. So why would you be afraid? There's nothing to fear, is there? Except that your life might change. And you know that's what people are really afraid of? They want changes, but they don't want their life to change. That's what I'm finding in the 7 or 8 years I've been doing this. People want the changes, but they want to fit them in the same paradigm. That's amazing to me. How do you think that you're not going to get the same exact results that you've been getting if you don't change the paradigm?
Trying to stuff old wine into a new wineskin.
Took my line, right?
I thought it turned it off. I get on here.
But yes, that's what Jesus also meant when he just quoted. You cannot pour new wine in old wineskins. You know why? What does new wine do? Expands. See? And if it's already been in a wineskin that's been expanded, then what's new wine going to do to the old wineskin that's already been expanded? It's going to break. So you see, you can't put new truths in your old wineskin. It doesn't work. In fact, it will burst. And in fact, you should want it to. Yes, you should. The name of my seminar is Liberating the Creator Within. It's called Brain Key Connection, because the brain is the key, and you're going to see in a little while why that's true. I'm getting ready to show you a slide, and I'm going to ask you to do something. And I'm only going to put it up for 8 seconds. So you better be ready. I'm a school teacher. So you're my students. Are you ready? Are you paying attention? You're going to be my directions here. When the slide comes up, I want you to read through it one time. Read it one time. And that's all I want you to do. That's it. Are you ready? Excuse me. Okay. How many finished reading it? Did you get through it? Everybody got through it okay? Because that was enough time, wasn't it? All right. Now this time I'm going to give you an assignment. How many of you have seen this before? I know she has. Okay. That won't diminish this at all. But I want you to hold your answers like everybody else answers. If you've seen it before. Now I'm going to give you an assignment. I want you to read through it one time, and you're only going to have time to read it one time because I'm going to give you 8 to 10 seconds. Same speed as last time. As you read, I want you to count the number of F's. Okay? This has nothing to do with intelligence. You can't win something by doing this. You're not going to gain anything. So don't worry about it. You're going to see a major thing here. It's going to give you some understanding and visual understanding that you've never heard before if you've never seen this before. Okay, are we ready? You will have 8 to 10 seconds. Read it one time and count the number of F's. Okay, how many did you get?
3.
How many did you get?
7.
How many did you get?
3.
How many did you get?
5.
How many did you
3.
get? Okay.
3.
6.
3.
Okay. Well, there were 7. Okay. Obviously, some people got 7. Now, if you got 7, you're basically done. Now, here's the thing that you need to see here. Now you know the truth, don't you?
You got to get back up here one more time.
Just teasing.
Again, I'm sorry.
We're assuming that you're telling us the truth.
Okay. Either that or the people that saw 7 are seeing things. You know? All right. Well, yeah, I'm going to put it up again. Actually, I'm going to put it up about 3 more times.
Okay.
But the point is, there are 7 F's on the card. Trust me, there are. Now, I'm going to give you 7 or 8 to 10 seconds to read it again. And just so you won't feel bad, I never did see more than 3. Never did. And I hope you're being honest with me, because you won't learn anything by trying to win like looking television or something. Has nothing to do with it. All right. Now you know the truth. Let's see how many you see this time. Got 8 seconds. How many still saw 3? How many did you see?
Well, I didn't finish because I was like really looking.
See, you're supposed to read it at the same pace. You're supposed to read it just like we've been reading it.
I picked up
Probably 3 I was
I got
thinking.
3 too. I didn't finish it.
I got 5 that time.
I got 7.
I got 6.
Okay.
So I did pick up one.
All right.
Backwards.
But see, this is why I've controlled this more. I used to give out a card, but people would be looking at it, they wouldn't turn it over.
Right.
They wanted to study it for, And like I tried to say, it's not a test of intelligence. It's like they didn't want to look bad. Oh my God, I know what Mama looks so.
Good, because we're teachers.
All right. Now, there were actually 7 F's, and some of you knew the truth and still only saw 3, didn't you? Now, here's the point, before I even go on to the next slide. What this tells you is then, the truth can be right in front of you. You can have 2 good eyes and still not even see it. And I know why. I can explain to you exactly why and how the brain works, because you do not see with your eyes. Did you know that? Did you know you don't see with your eyes? Scientifically, all your eyes do is capture light. Guess what you see with? Your brain. You have one eye. Then I understood what Jesus meant when he said, how can you say to your brother, judge him, and all this stuff, how can you take the what? The splinter out of your brother's eye and you got a log in yours? Eye. He didn't say eyes, did he? What did he say? Eye. Eye. You only capture light with your eyeballs. Your brain interprets it. That's why some of you can only see 3 F's. Because your brain has been wired, literally, to see 3 F's. Now here's why. There are the 3 F's most people see. Don't there? How many saw those 3 the first time? But here are the ones they don't usually see. Now, why? I can tell you why you didn't see them. How were we taught to read in school? Phonically. What does OF sound like? Of. When your brain read that, it saw these. Did not see S because you were wired from the first time you were taught to read by sound and phonics.
see.
Now, anybody can see the 7 F's if they did this. You know, they just started covering up letters and counting. Anybody can do that. It's as you read that this concept works. Now, you know what I've actually done to you right now? And a lot of people don't realize, the moment that I told you and showed you these F's were here, I changed physiologically your brain. You are now rewired. The neural circuit is connected that you can see these F's now. Even though they were there before, you didn't see them. Right? Now, you got to understand this. This is the major thing. I fell off the couch when I saw the guy that was teaching these brain seminars. And I thought, oh my goodness. Remember what I said about the scripture? After I realized what it really said, what was my next thing? What else? Okay? If you're not seeing those F's, what's the question? What else are you not seeing? And this is really where you got to see this. Everything in your life, your perception of reality, is literally determined by the neural circuits in your brain. And they were all formed from the time you were in your mother's womb. And from that time till you were about 21, there were different stages. Your brain literally got wired to see reality from a certain perspective, and guess what? You can't see it any other way until you're rewired. This floored me. I thought, oh my gosh. And then Hal, the guy that I'm going to share in the seminar, the guy that taught me all this stuff on the brain, you know, he made me realize that I'm not seeing anything of reality. Do you know what the percentage is of this amount of bits of information are coming in? 100 million bits of information are coming into your brain in a second. Do you know how much of that you actually get into your brain? Less than 1%. Less than 1%. And this should be understandable to you. How many of you have heard, or haven't heard, because I know you haven't heard it, but you know about a dog whistle? What happens when you blow a dog whistle? Do you hear anything? Obviously you don't, do you? But the dog does. You know why? His brain's wired to hear that frequency. Is that because you don't hear it mean it doesn't exist? No. And if you really pay attention here, this is, do you realize how narrow our spectrum is of hearing and seeing compared to what's out here?